always do that.
Yeah, because you catch us all gossiping.
Yeah, we're live
Especially
now.
Mark will say, we've just signed the sperm.
Hello and welcome to Spurs Diehards TTID. Tonight we'll be discussing the Leicester game. We'll be doing a predictive lineups. We'll be discussing incomings and outgoings, our new signing, changes in VAR rule, and any other late news that we may get. So I'll start by introducing our guests. We'll start with Phil. Phil, how are you, mate?
I'm great, Adrian. Yeah, it's good to be back on the channel again. I hope the chat's well. And looking forward to getting to some talks.
You were breaking up a bit there, Phil.
Yeah. Oh, it sounded like
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great to be back on the channel. Good to be on the panel with you guys and big up the chat. We're looking forward to getting into some topics.
Right, okay. Well, I now move on to Mod Mark. How are you, Mark?
All good, Adrian. I've got the Man United game on in the background. You can't hear it, can you?
No. You can keep us informed. No, that's
Yeah.
Game, but you know,
you'll be the John Motson.
People can always watch on playback. So now we fellow admin Queen Ellie, Spurs ambassador, ex-Spurs ladies player. How are you?
Yeah. And nurse to my daughter Joanna, be looking after her as she's had her tonsils out. So I haven't been abreast of any Spurs news, but you let me know this afternoon that we signed the winger. So I was impressed, and I had a look at him. He looks pretty neat. I like what I've seen. So let's see how it goes, because he's French. You know what we do with French players.
You're talking about Nkudu, NG, and Don.
Yeah, we haven't had much luck with them.
Ginola was all right.
Ginola.
Yeah, I mean,
that's true, guys. But I've got a sneaking suspicion we should stop signing French players who have got the letter N at the beginning of their surname, Ndombele, NZ, and Nkudu, right? Right, with that light-hearted remark, we'll start then. Phil, what do you know about our new signing? I mean, I did post videos for everyone in my free Facebook channels, the WhatsApp channels, Twitter. I post it everywhere. Have you seen anything of this guy?
I watched a bit of him when Burnley were in the Premier League last season. They had two good wingers. Koleosho was one of them on the one side, and then there was Odegaard on the other side, and they were really good, tricky wingers. This Odegaard has got a lot of pace, and he seems to create a lot of assists and goals. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play. And he's got something a little bit different to what we don't have. You know, I mean, Brennan Johnson's got pace, so has Werner, but they haven't really got the end product like Odebert has, in my opinion. And I think he can take on his man as well, which I can see. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Mod Mark, what's your take on? I posted you a video. I'm sure you watched it. What's your take on this guy?
I did watch the video. I will admit, I did watch it. He's quick. I had to Google him to see who he was. What's his name again? I never heard of him.
Wilson Odebert.
Yeah, honestly, I'd never. I'm getting fed up now with signing people I've never heard of. You've got to do a Danny Rose and Google him. But it's one of these things, isn't it? You never know. He might be brilliant, but he might not be.
Well, according to what report you believe, he's anything from 20 to 30 million, including add-ons, for a 19-year-old who's played at sort of all lower levels for France. He's French, and he has stats that compare almost identically with Nico Williams.
We've just gone in the lead, the under-21s, by the way.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, company. Has got a lot of good words to say about him as well when he was manager there. And yeah, I mean, I've seen him quite a bit when he was in. He played against Luton as well the other night, and he was one of the best players on the pitch. So I think he's going to be a good hit for us. I really do.
Well, he has got Premier League experience, Ellie, hasn't he? I mean, like he played for Burnley, albeit in a bad team. He scored 4 goals for them. So he's really got more of a heads up than Bergvall and Gray, who have yet to play 90 minutes for us, I mean, they haven't played 90 minutes, but he's got quite a few games under his belt.
Yeah, and I like his movement because he's a very intelligent player. For 19 years old, he shows a lot of football AI, and he's just got pace. He's got tenacity. He passes the ball very quickly, which Ange Postecoglou, that's the profile of player that he wants. He doesn't want to keep the ball. He wants to keep it moving forward, and he fits the remit that Postecoglou wants. So I'm excited to see what he can do for us. Obviously, Burnley got relegated, but it's a team game at the end of it. And we've watched him, and we think he's the one that shone. So, and he's got a little bit of power about him as well. He's not a little, he's not one that you can knock off the ball like Brian Hill, like you can blow him over. But this boy, he's got a little bit of meat on him. And I just like him because he can move the ball quickly, and he's fast and tricky, and his movement off the ball is good as well. So let's see what he can do. Where it's a bit of an unknown still because, all right, he's played for Burnley, but this is a step up for him. Let's see how he rises to the challenge, Adrian.
Phil, he's a little under, as Ellie said, he's not a sort of lightweight. He's not a snowflake or going to be blown away in the wind. He is like a little under 5'10". He's between about 5'9.5". So he's got something about it. When I watched him in his video, he goes inside and out. He could play on both wings. So he looked decent, and he has played, like I say, he has got some Premier League experience.
I mean, he's got something that we don't have in the squad. For me, Johnson isn't that tricky. Yeah, he's knocking the ball and running with running onto it. He's not like a step over or drop the shoulder type of player. Like Odebert is. Odebert is more tricky for me, and he creates a lot of chances as well. So I think he will become a good player. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does.
Mark, this is signing had something of a Paratici about it with Langer. He's a bit of a dark horse when it comes to signings. I mean, when you consider that no one expected to go to Marseille, you wouldn't have thought that who I'm thinking about, Gray would have been signed so quickly as when it looked like he was going to Brentford, and now we got Odebert in.
Yeah, it would appear that way, wouldn't it? You know, I mean, it seems the complete opposite of what Paratici used to do with his 10 spinning plates and pick one, and it was all in the bin, and it was all online, and you knew everything. But you know, it's like I said, it's another one of these signings. It's a wait and see signing. You know, I want players to come in that are ready now. You know, it's all right. All right, in 3 or 4 years, we might have the best team in the world. The amount of like young ones we're signing, but you know, I want it now.
Yeah, we all want a trophy, Mark. Let's
Yeah, you know.
I just think we are going down a different route, though. I don't know what you guys think, but I think I don't think we're buying players that are really made now. I think we're buying for the future.
You sound a bit muffled, Phil.
Yeah.
Is it okay now?
Yeah,
That's better.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what you lot think, but I think we're going down a different route. I think we're going. Obviously, we've bought a lot of youngsters, promising youngsters this transfer window, and I just feel we are buying for like 2 years down the line. And I think Ange Postecoglou is identifying these sort of players along with the scouting team, and you know they're going through a data analytic route, and I'm excited with it, to be honest with you. And I think you'll see the fruits of the labour, you know, within a year, 2 years time. I know we all want it now, and we're impatient and we want trophies now, but I think they are looking for the long term, you know.
What was good about it, whether it's going to have an effect on Monday's game or not, is that we signed him by 10:30 this morning. And for those of you in the chat watching on playback and my fellow guests here, the game when the Premier League starts on the game day, like on the Friday before, you have to register your squad by noon that day. So as we've signed him at 10:30, he is actually eligible to play on Monday. So I don't know how that affects our other signings. I mean, no doubt he'll be on the bench. So Pat's on the back to Lange, as far as I'm concerned. I doubt he will start, to be honest with you. Ellie, what do you think?
Yeah, I think he'll be on the bench. Actually, I don't think he'll start. I don't know because
come straight in short.
No, I think you're putting a spanner in the works then, because the players that have established themselves from last year, all right, we finished 5th, so we finished short of what the remit was for Postecoglou to get us into Champions League, I presume. But I think it's going to put their noses out and it'll make them work harder. I'm telling you, they're going to have that boy waiting to come on from the bench. And if he impresses and he gets his chance, he will be starting instead of them. But I don't see him starting straight away. I think Postecoglou's going to play it safe, because look what he did against Bayern. He played it safe in the first half, then he brought in on the youngsters. So I don't think he quite thinks they're ready yet. And this is a new player who's just bedding in. So I think he will be on the bench.
Phil, let's move on to the lineup for Monday then. We know that we'll talk about, so before we actually do that, we'll talk about Yves Bissouma. He's been suspended for this game. Do you think that's, well, we don't know if he's going to face further suspensions.
Yeah.
So, do you think it's one game would be sufficient punishment or not?
I expected 2 or 3 games, to be honest with you. I think one isn't enough. But I think they're thinking about, obviously, you know, with the midfield shortage that we've got. So, you know, he needs to build up the trust, like Dan said before. He needs to build trust up with the squad, with the manager. And yeah, what we did was absolutely stupid, you know. Especially the younger players coming up as well. They don't really want to see that sort of lack of leadership. from him. So, yeah, I mean, he's got a lot to do.
Yeah. Mark, suitable punishment, 1 game, or do you think he's going to get more?
No, well, no, I said on Tuesday's show, I think that he should be made to donate significant funds to a drug rehabilitation charity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, and put yourself in the public, post it online or YouTube or wherever, you know, of him going to these drug places, you know, helping people. You know, because how old is he? He's like one of the senior members of the squad, I believe.
He's 27 or 28 this month.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, like, we've signed half of like the under 15s throughout the world, you know, or all these signings. You know, it's not a good look. Personally, I'd like to have seen him get at least 2 games, at least. You know, because you know, because let's face it, right? Anyone in their job, you'd got sacked for that. You know, but footballers are like above all that, you know, because they cost X amount of millions, and they can't just like throw 25 million down the drain. Exactly. You know, but any of the rest of us would have got sacked for that. Gross misconduct, whatever they call it.
Yeah,
it's not just about gaining the trust back with the manager and the players. It's gaining the trust back with the fans as well. You know what I mean? The fans don't really, you know, like what he's done. You know what I mean? There is a way back for him, I do believe, but it's going to take performances on the pitch and performances off the pitch. For him to do that.
In my opinion, he's got to be seen to be doing stuff like anti-drug stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, Ellie, Ange must be fuming. He's given a position of responsibility and he's broke his trust. Yeah.
I think he's going to give him a few pointers on how to conduct himself, because I mean, to do that was totally stupid. I know some people have defended him and said that it isn't that bad, but I consider it quite bad, because you're posting it as well, like you're flaunting it. If you do it in your private life and you keep it secret, no one's going to know. No one would have been wiser. But he's come clean, maybe because he wants to get a kick up the arse, because he hasn't been playing well for us, has he? He's been playing pants for us. And like
he's a blessing in
not just that, he's the way he carries himself around the club, I don't like it. I think you should be focused as a footballer, you know, like have some decorum around the ground as well. But I don't know, when I saw him at Brighton, he was a fantastic player. He hasn't shown that apart from maybe 7 or 8 games where he's performed for us. The rest of the games, he's well under par. He's not trying. Ange Postecoglou dropped him to a defensive midfielder rather than more progressive midfielder, because he just thought he's not doing it for me. So I think Ange is very disappointed, and he's like, Ange acts like a father figure to a lot of the players. And I think Basuma, I think he's given him so many chances. He must like the lad, because he knows he's talented. He's just got to get it out of him. Now he's got this setback, and it's very disappointing, because I was looking forward to seeing him play, because when he played against QPR, he scored a really lovely goal. I think it was the first goal he scored for us, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Right, played very well. So I'm gutted, because I do like him as a player. He's just not performed to what we know he can, and it's just a shame. And now this, it's just not on.
The stupid thing he done is doing it in the first place. The idiotic thing he did is putting it on social media.
Yes.
You know, that's the thing, right? Because it's like Ellie said, if you're going to do it and you don't post it you don't post it on Snapchat or whatever he did, nobody knows. Nobody knows.
None the wiser. Only he's going to know, and the people that he's doing it with.
Well, of course, that's it. You know, but to put it on Snapchat, I believe it was. That's just there's.
I mean, there's probably more things the players have done than what he did, but it still doesn't take away the fact that he's a professional football player at Tottenham Hotspur, and he can't be doing something like that. You know what I mean? He has to be a role model. He's one of the senior players in the squad, and he needs to do a lot better. He needs to think about what he's done, and there is a way back for him.
Yeah,
he's got to do it on and off the pitch now.
Yeah. Definitely on and off the pitch.
And Phil, he's really got to do it. He's really got to show it, hasn't he? Because the sword of Damocles is hanging over his head. I mean, on top of last season, he had 3 suspensions, right? Fans do not forget things like that. And this on top of that, I mean, not a good look. I mean, I think he could possibly be the one most under threat come January if he doesn't really get his act together. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely, because it's like I said, like you're one of the senior players in that team, and you've got all the youngsters. Your Archie Grays, your Bergvals, this new lad that we bought. But even the under 21s and that, they're all going to be looking at him thinking, I want to, well, maybe not now, but they'd be all looking, I want to be like you, I want to get in the first team. What sort of examples that set? Oh, on your days off, just do a couple of balloons, whatever it is. I don't know. I don't understand any of it, but it's nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
We'll talk about
What's frustrating is, like Ellie said before, he's got ability. Do you know what I mean? He's a very good midfielder when he's on his game. You know what I mean?
But that's not very often, is it?
Yeah. Well, it's just not consistent enough. Do you know what I mean? And he has got it in him. He has got it in him. He's finding the right balance, and under Conte as well, he didn't really have a good time, did he? I mean, he wasn't favoured. He favoured so he's had a bit of a rough time with it.
You wonder why now. Maybe he was doing this sort of thing before, and the club kept it.
Yeah.
You don't know, do you? Because they didn't play him at all, hardly.
It begs the question, doesn't it?
8 games under Conte.
Well, he's never going to find a better club than Spurs at his age, and if he is a bit of a playboy on the quiet, well then he will be gone. Ange won't put up with it. He won't be allowed to get away with it again. If this doesn't shock him into behaving himself, improving his conduct, then he's another one. This is why we have to do the due diligence on these players, before we bring them in. I think that's why Ange likes younger players, because you can mould them young, get them young, and train them.
The thing is, didn't he get in a bit of trouble at Brighton for going out partying?
There were rumours about
he did.
He was under
that got dropped. So, like with most footballers, I think they pass the brown off and across, and things get puffed up, right? So, same what happened at Mason Greenwood at Man United, beat his girlfriend up, and yet he gets away with it. Which that is wrong, right? That is totally wrong. He should have been taken to court, right? So, I want to talk about 2 more players before we talk about the Leicester lineup. I want to talk about Richarlison first, and then Manasola. Phil, Richarlison's fit now. What are you expecting from him this season? He's obviously not going anywhere, not until January anyway, at the earliest.
Yeah, I'm expecting him to be, the Richarlison that we all know he is. Really, I mean, he's not the greatest striker in the world, but I expect him to contribute this season like he did last season. Do you know what I mean?
You want to see the 11-goal Charlison?
Yeah, I mean, with a few assists in that as well. Do you know what I mean? He needs to definitely get over 12, 13 goals for me, because we've got a long season ahead. We've got 4 competitions as well, so he's going to be getting a lot of game time, I think. So Yeah, I'm expecting him to contribute. I'm not expecting big things from him. I don't think any of us. Well, I'm speaking for myself now, but I think a lot of the fan base think that he's not the greatest striker in the world, but you know, he is a hard worker. You know, and I like his shithouser as well, which we don't have a lot of that in the team apart from Romero. So, but yeah, I'm not expecting big things to size it. I'm expecting him to dip in with a few goals. Mark,
another player under threat in January if he doesn't show us what he did during that 11-goal spell.
Yeah. Well, the first thing is he's got to stay fit. You know what I mean? I mean, I know I keep saying it. I said it Tuesday, but your best ability is availability. You know what I mean? So if you're always on the sidelines, then what's the point of being there? You know, I got to stick my glasses on there. I can't read that. Hang on, don't scrub that off. Yes, he does. Oh, hang on. What's going on there? I've gone. Can you still hear me?
I can see you.
We can hear you, but you're frozen.
You're frozen.
Am I?
Yeah, you're okay. We can hear you perfectly well.
Oh, you can hear. I was going to say that the whole computer screen just went mad and like.
Okay. What? But it's only visuals. So, I mean, you're just frozen. This is just a frozen picture of you, but we can hear you. So that's
how is it? I'm not sure what's going on here.
It'll probably sort itself out in a minute.
Come back and sort itself out.
Yeah. But anyway, what was the question?
I was talking about Richarlison.
Being
under threat in January.
Yeah.
I'd add him to Basuma if, in my opinion, if they don't perform. You know?
Well, personally, I think Solanke's going to be the main striker, but you know, you're always going to get knocks and injuries, and with Richie, I hope when he is required, he comes in and he thinks, right, you know, it's my turn now. You know, and he grabs it with both hands and runs with it, you know, because that's what you want in a team. You want players chomping at the bit.
Ellie, I do get a bit cynical with some of these players because we hear so much of it that when they suffer a lack of form, you get it through, I'm still recovering from an injury, or I was carrying an injury all last season, fine. Well, then to me, you shouldn't be playing. But then they come out, I've had psychological issues, I've had mental issues. Now, I'd hate to come across as being callous and just say, players are using it as an excuse. But you do get a bit cynical at times when you hear it all the time from not just players at Spurs, everywhere. You think, well, okay, so with him now, if he's put that behind him, I expect to see a different Richarlison, don't you?
Yeah, I expect to see a Richarlison that's firing on all cylinders, like when he hit that purple patch for us. If he can repeat that in the first part of the season, just coming off the bench, he might even get a position with Solanke, because I mean he's quite versatile across the front three.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, he's quite good. Like he can play left wing or the right wing or through the middle. So, but I think his attributes are strong for us, because if we've got wingers coming in, we've got one winger's already signed, Odebert, we need to hit his head. Like, and if he's coming on with 15, 20, 25 minutes to go, or even a half an hour to go, he can hurt the opposition, because he's fantastic in the air, and he scored quite a few goals with his feet. So I want him to like push on and even be a better version of the Richarlison we saw when he gets his mental state right, because he does work hard for the team, like Phil says. He does press, and he can be a very, very good attribute to the whole team as a whole, because I just feel that he's got something about him that's different, and he's got a bit of shithousery, a bit of aggression.
I like that. I do like that.
We do need that. We do need that in our team, because we're too soft. If you've got a soft underbelly, you don't win anything. Like Mourinho said in his talk, you've got to be a see you next Tuesday. Like he said.
Clever ones.
Because look at the teams that win the league. They're no shrinking violets. They've got their tough men who know when to mix it and know when to do the dirty on another team, and they'll take one for the team. So, you know, coming off the bench, I think he will be. He won't be a starter because we're not paying whatever we paid for Solanke, 65 million, I think it was, right? Put him on the bench. We're going to try him out. But if he doesn't work, Richarlison's going to be waiting in the wings, isn't he? So let's see what happens this season, what he can produce.
Yeah, you got to get him fit. You got to keep him fit.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Spurs GCTV. Graham's got a question. We're clearly looking to improve service from the wide men. Will that help Richie? Phil, do you think that help? I mean, we do know that Ange likes. I understand why he likes low crosses into the box because they're very hard to defend.
Yeah.
But do you think he will get a better service when he's played in there? Like, you know, I know we can rely on Johnson to balloon a ball over everyone. But I mean, like, at least Werner keeps the ball down, doesn't he? When he puts his.
I mean, we do see quite, you know, a single goal every game really with the low cross that Johnson and Werner does. It seems to be quite a common goal that we score. I think Odegaard would be the same as well. You know, from what I've seen in the past with him, he likes to hit the ball low into the box for the striker. I think Rich Solanke will get a lot of goals this season with a wide man. You know, but yeah, I think Richie. I don't think Rich had a lot of game time, to be honest with you. We'll have to see.
Evening, Soren. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yourselves?
Yeah, we're just talking about. We've spoken about Odegaard, and we've talked about Bissouma's suspension for this game, and that it should be more. I think it should be at least 4. We don't know what's going to happen. We know suspension, and we just moved on to Richarlison, who's now fit. What are you expecting for him? He's always going to share the striking responsibilities with Solanke. So,
well, I'm hoping he steps up this year because, I mean, contrary to what everybody else believes, I believe there's still a player in there. I think I do think he's a good player. He's just got his first touch is poor. That's the problem. But if he's sort of hitting the ball without having to think about it, he seems to do quite well. It's when he's got to think about what he's about to do that he just suddenly crumbles. So I do think Solanke will be the starting number 9, but I do expect Richie to do some things. I think he'll step up a bit this year. Now he's got a bit of proper competition for his spot. So we'll see. I mean, yeah.
So with you were talking about his touch. Do you think he's 20? Is he 28? Coming up 29?
So I'm struggling to hear. I don't know if it's my end
you're cracking up a bit, Phil.
Yeah, you're cracking up.
Yeah, it's all crackly.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, very clear now.
Yeah. So the thing was, so you were saying about Richie's touch. I mean, he's 28, 29 now. Is that something he can still improve on, or is that? Do you think that that's just the way he is as a player? He's just not naturally gifted, to control the ball close to his feet.
Yeah, I mean, at that age, you would expect if he was going to be able to do it, he'd already be doing it. I do think whenever I've seen him play for Brazil, and when you sort of see him and he starts hitting a bit of form, when he did hit that little bit of form for us, everything was done instant. Whenever he has to think about it, he wasn't as good. But then I'm pretty sure when he played for Everton, he was more of a winger, wasn't he? So he
was left wing.
Yeah. He seemed to play quite well running with the ball. So I don't know whether it's just a confidence thing at the moment or what, but that is certainly the one thing, especially that has to improve with him, because whenever you sort of saw him play last year, we always looked a better team with him in than we did without him. That closing down, we've always said defense starts from the front, and he is a player that suits Ange's system in the sense of he runs his knackers off, after that ball. He's always closing down. And if you got that game and improved his first touch and his holding up the ball, then he'd be a perfect player, wouldn't he? But I think the problem we've got with Richie is his strength is his heading, and we don't put any balls into his heading. We keep playing it to his feet. So again, you sort of look at it and think, what's the point? It's those crosses. I mean, hopefully, we'll see more sort of balls down to the byline and being crossed over. Because I think the new lad, that's what he's more about, isn't it? Than sort of
the thing with Richie with me is you don't get to where he is if your touch isn't good. He did say, now we need to see this season, we need to see whether everything's right with him. He did say he was carrying like a groin injury, a bit of mobility gone and all that, like it was affecting his touch. And we know when players are out of form, the whole game goes. Their head in, their instinctive movements are moving in the right positions. They run in the wrong spot where the ball goes, and like their touch is hard. Having said that, I've seen Sonny give him some really hard balls to try and block, and people have blamed his touch. And I'm thinking, hang on, all right, for some, yeah, but for some, no. I mean, when you're at pitch level, you see how fast them balls are coming at players, and you know that, right? And I think with Richie, I don't think his touch is as bad as people make out, because you don't get to his level and play for Brazil if your touch is that bad, even in training and things like that. I just think his game went when he was injured, and if he had psychological issues, I just think his game went, and he just wasn't. You've got to have the sharpness between the ears, apart from the reflexes. You know what I mean, as well, when you're on the field, and so I'm hopeful, like you said, he will kick on, and we will see the best Richard Charlison we've ever seen at the club. Because when he scored them 11 goals, he looked a player. He looked a quality.
Yes, I mean, especially the goals against Everton, bloody hell.
Yeah, if you look at the first season when he only scored like 1 or 2, he actually had about 10 goals in the back of the net, which were offside. But a lot of them were pretty marginal as well. So, I mean, that probably knocked his confidence quite a bit. The fact of every time he scored, it was ruled out. So, and I mean, fair enough, offside is offside, but the point is that he was finding the net, and, quite a few of them were pretty marginal. But, you look at it again and said, if the balls to him were a little bit better and got there sooner, then he wouldn't have been offside maybe. But, whether you blame him or whether you blame the person putting the balls in, then it's debatable. But, yeah, I agree with you, Adrian, that, you don't get to be Brazil's number 9 and not be pretty good at what you do. But like I say, I do think the strongest point is sort of hitting the ball on the turn, or as an instinct thing, or heading it.
Yeah, and he is fast as well. People never mention his pace, but he's got pace.
Yeah, he is nippy. Yeah.
Well, let's face it. There's probably 50 million people in Brazil who want to be the number 9.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. Yeah, I think we can do a lot better than Richarlison in my eyes, but that's just me. But I think this year he has to sort of impress me to sort of either gain another contract or be here, a little bit longer than a year's time. He needs to show me a little bit more in my eyes. He's been at the club for how long's he been at the club now? 3 years, is it? 4 years.
3, isn't it?
So I mean, he's shown me a small sample size of his 60 million price tag, and I think he can do a lot better than what he has.
The thing is with Richie is that anyone following Harry Kane is always going to be a downgrade. Yeah. Because that's what you got to think. He came in and he's replaced our greatest ever goal scorer.
And what you've got to think as well, Mark, is when we had Kane, you weren't going to get many other top strikers to come in and sit on the bench.
No.
When you know, everybody sort of says, I mean, yes, fair enough. Since Kane's gone, we should have maybe done something. But you look at it and think, well, yeah, who was going to come in and sit on the bench behind Kane?
Nobody.
No.
Well.
Oh yeah,
well,
I mean that was always
the fault anyway.
Yeah, that was always the case. You know, any striker, any second striker that we were going to bring in, was always going to play second fiddle to Harry Kane. But when it's done, you expect the striker of a £60 million striker to sort of take up the reins and go, right, I'm the number one now. Do you know what I mean? And putting in these sort of performances. He's never going to be a Harry Kane, but
nobody is.
I expect him to put more better performances in than he has done since he's been at Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah. Well, as I said earlier, your best ability is availability. Availability's got to be the first thing.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on. I'll stay with you, Mark. Manus Solomon, right? He's just come back from a long injury and a long layoff. There's talk of him being loaned out. I personally don't see that happening because who wants to come in for a player who might be training field fit, but not, right? But not really 90-minute match fit. I mean, the best you could do with a Manus Solomon is get someone to take him on a loan to buy. I don't really see. It's like I see Richarlison and Basuma's careers being decided in January now, coming in January if they shape up. Solomon's another one. Do you see him going out on loan?
Well, there's no sample size with him, is there?
No.
I mean, I honestly don't know. I mean, do you honestly think Andrew likes him and he wants him about, or I honestly don't know.
Well, he gave him some pre-season games to see what he's like, but he did get the players as well. You know?
I think I saw him come on in one friendly.
Yeah.
I'll be completely honest with you. I'll be completely honest with you. I forgot what he looked like. It's been that long. It's been that long since we've seen
him. Like Aaron Lennon. He's a short
guy. You know, I mean,
he's about my height.
Yeah, I mean, it's another one. Your best ability is your availability. And if he's always going to be injured, then what the hell is he still doing here? You know what I mean?
Ellie?
Yeah. When I saw him against QPR, he was out of sorts. He didn't really impress me very much. Didn't offer much. He was just like, he's like a small fish in a big pond. He just doesn't look like he's going to be making it at Spurs. I don't know. And I've seen him in other games. The only game he did impress me was when he done 2 assists for Sonny against Burnley. But we were we were playing really well that game. And, you know, he did stand out a little bit, but he doesn't strike me as a particularly good winger. And he hasn't got the strength either. You know, he's small guy in stature, but he's got quite good body, but he doesn't come across as a brilliant player to me. No, I don't think he's going to make it at Spurs. I think we'll ship him out.
The only saving grace really was he was on a free. You know, we didn't really spend. Yeah, we didn't really spend big money on him, so
he's not really stayed a lot of place. He's not stayed that long at clubs either, which is quite worrying.
He kept Mudryk out the side, Shakhtar Donetsk side, and Mudryk got a move to Chelsea. But again, Spurs fans are very quick to throw any player under the bus if no matter how good they are, if they're out the team for any length of time because they're not available, suddenly they're crap. You know what I mean? Like, which isn't always the case, right? It is sometimes. It's justified.
I wouldn't say he's crap. He's just not at the level that we need. You know, if we're gonna be serious, challenging for all the trophies, we've got to have better. And I just don't think he's going to cut the mustard. He's not got anything special about him.
He had a pretty good spell at Fulham before we bought him. He had I think it was like an 8-goal streak, in a row. And I think that's what got his move to Tottenham Hotspur. But I think he's just a bit part player. He's not very consistent, and injuries have plagued him as well. But yeah, I don't see him at Tottenham next season, to be honest with you. I think they may just send him out on loan before the transfer window shuts, with an option to buy, to be honest.
I think you can still loan players after the transfer window shut. So I see him if he's going. I don't see anyone coming in for him, but he may. If not, January is going to be very telling if he does get any game time in Europe or whatever. Soren?
I think Odegaard is the replacement for him, to be honest with you, but that's my opinion.
Yeah,
I'm kind of wondering with the signing today whether we've already got something lined up for Solomon. But I do think it's a shame, because I think when you sort of saw him, there was glimpses of there could be a bit of a player in there, but you kind of look at it and think we'll never know really, because I don't think he is going to get a chance. And I think with the injury, maybe we're just looking at things and thinking, he's just not worth the risk. I mean, he was basically out most of the season, wasn't he? So, but I don't know. I think if he's not a player Ange wants, then just let him go.
Yeah. And another thing, just one thing. Anyone who's coming in for him and say, where are they going to watch videos from? Like 5 years ago. Because the last couple of years there's been nothing. Well, they might watch 10 minutes when he come on in that game.
I mean, I think one of the sort of bottom end teams or top end of Division 1 Championship, should I say? I think it'd suit them. But it's just one of those. How many players are we going to loan? I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a limit to what we can loan out in there. So,
yeah, right. Halftime report, 0-0.
Right. Okay. Well, with loans, if you're loaning to a Premier League club, they can only bring in 2 players. Right. That's the rule. But it can be more with a goalkeeper. If suddenly all your goalkeepers are injured, there is like a special dispensation where you can bring in another goalkeeper.
Didn't we get one in, like as an emergency?
No, we tried, didn't we? I remember right.
Right, okay.
We tried, but they wouldn't let us.
But in the Championship and that below, there is no limit on how many players they can loan from you. So they might only be able to take a certain amount from a club, like 2 from any Premier League club. But it doesn't mean to say they can't get 10 loanees in.
Isn't there a limit?
Premier League clubs can't do that. They can only get.
Is there a limit to what we can loan out?
2, I think.
No, I mean, as in the total that any one club can loan out fully. Because this is why we had to get rid of Doherty, wasn't it? Because we'd got too many on loan.
Okay,
yeah,
there is
it's 8, isn't it? It was 8.
Sorry, but I don't know.
I think it's come down to. I think it's 6 or 7 now. I thought it had come down.
Oh, is it?
But only like if we would, I think we can only loan 2 to a Premier League club.
Yeah.
Right? But with the Championship clubs, I know they can loan. There's no limit on there what they can get in. There's no loan how many loans they can get. Whether that means they can still only get 2 from each Premier League club, I'm not sure. But there isn't a limit. There isn't a limit in the lower leagues. I think that's probably a good role for them as well, because like they're probably more in need of quality at times and whatever. On that though, let's move on. Before we talk about the Leicester game and the lineup, right? I want to talk about some of their youngsters. Mikey Moore's been added to the first team squad. Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deserves it. Brilliant. Love him. I think he's a talent. He's got an all-round ability, the boy. He's fantastic.
And the only other player who might get added, I think, is Will Lancashire. He might be added as well as the third striker.
Another good, brilliant.
If he gets game time, though.
He's a finisher. He's different from Mikey Moore. He's a finisher. And
he got 23 goals in 22 under 21 games last year.
He's hungry for goals. He wants to score, the boy. You know, he's like Harry Kane. He's a killer. He gets in there and he scores. You know,
I think he will get time, because I do think, with the way Richie's been, that he'll probably get injured at some point. So we're going to need that backup to Solanke. And rather than bringing Son across, then, you know, maybe that's the idea, that we give Lancashire that sort of third spot, but then it gets bumped up to backup if there's an injury.
I would like to see him out on loan though, just to see what he does in the Championship, something like that. You know,
But I mean, this is, and I don't mean this against you, Phil, in particular, but this is what makes me laugh, where we say we want to loan our players to the Championship to see how they do, and then when we go buy a player from the Championship that's ripped it up, oh, he's not good enough. You know, this is where it makes me laugh, that, you know, oh, let's loan it to a Championship, see if he's up to that level, and then you go buy a player.
No.
By the way, Odebeer, I do rate who we bought from the Championship. So
yeah, but he was in the Prem last year, wasn't it?
Oh, he was, yeah. He was in the Prem briefly.
Right at Lane. What? Because I was looking at him, right, and I didn't even know his name, right? I didn't even know him, but I looked at the programme and I saw his name, Odebeer. I thought, this player's pretty decent. He was getting about and he's creating havoc, you know, and they scored a goal. I don't know if he scored the goal, I'm not sure. But I was at that game.
There was two wingers that they had, Ellie. Colliosho, he was on the left, and then Odebeer was on the right. There were two tricky wingers.
He was the one who impressed me most.
Yeah, his stats are identical to Nico Williams, and he's played at all young levels for France. Like, you know, so he's and like you say, he scored 4 goals in the Prem last season, I think, in a poor Burnley side that got relegated.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, it looks like Judson Bell, we got off of Chelsea, is going to be sold. He was a player that when he apparently left Chelsea, he wasn't getting game time and wanted to push for a place in the first team. I think the same problem may have reared its head at Spurs, and Spurs have probably gone, well, no, there's people you're behind in the pecking order. So it looks like he'll go. Dane Scarlett has got a loan to Oxford United. I believe he will smash it there. Do you guys know anything about him?
He's on the bench tonight, I think. When I was on Tottenham on tour, they someone put it in the chat. He's on the bench tonight versus Coventry, I think.
Yeah, they're losing. He won at half time, Oxford.
Yeah, he's on Oxford's bench, isn't he?
Yeah.
Gone under the radar because Lancashire and Mikey Moore have stolen a lot of the highlights this year. And you know,
he needs to start getting game time, though, doesn't he? You know, it's had some poor loans. Scarlett has, you know, when he's. I can't remember who he was loaned to now last season, but
he went to Ipswich, didn't get no game time.
Yeah, Ipswich, that was right. Yeah, so he's had some poor loans. Not due to him, I don't think, because I think they changed managers at the time when he was there. So
and like everywhere he goes away, every time he goes away of England, he scores. You know what I mean? And I've seen him, and Ellie's seen him because I've been and watched him at the at the stadium when they played the under 21s there, like. And when you get 22 players on the pitch and a player stands out, he stands out. He scored a lovely goal against Shakhtar Donetsk when Kane got them 4 goals when we beat them 5-1.
It was a brilliant goal.
Yeah.
But he doesn't get game time. He's on the bench.
He's well, I mean, I don't know he'll have a career at Spurs. He's going to have a football career as a striker. He will. Mark my words. I think he'll smash it.
Dane Scarlett?
Yeah. I think he'll smash it. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. He's just got that about him. You see it in him. Now, he might flatter to deceive. He might end up like a Lacazette at Arsenal, I thought would be really good, but he's sort of flattered to deceive. You get them tricky sort of players that you think flattered to deceive and things like that. You know, we'll move on to Jamie Donnelly. He's now getting a loan to Orient. What are your impressions of Donnelly, guys?
Yeah, I think that's a good move for him as well, to be honest with you.
He is 19. I mean,
yeah, I think he's one of those that, again, he's got a lot of potential, but he just needs to he probably just needs to get that run of games and some confidence and get playing. I think he's a good little player, but again, you know, if he doesn't get game time, then he's never going to progress.
Yeah, it's true.
I think
Well,
We got him from Northern Ireland as a striker. Wayne Burnett converting as a number 10. He's got a killer forward defence splitting past him as a number 10. And then he's filled in at left back. So he's shown quality in 3 different positions, you know. I think he's a future star. Again, will he be in a Spurs team? I don't know. But I think we'll end up, which is the right way to go anyway with our youngsters. If we end up like Chelsea or Man City and grooming players that we buy him for 5 and 10 millions and sell them for 20s and 30s, I think that will happen. Our fan base will moan when it happens, obviously, because they like to moan about something. They're not moaning about something, they're waiting to moan about the next thing. So like that will happen. But I still think it's good. I like him. I mean, I just think he's such a talent. He scored.
I think he's one of a few players that will make it into the third team. I think Donnelly, Mikey Moore, and Lancashire as well. I think them 3 will get into the first team at some point. The rest I can see just either going on loan and petering out really, and trying to get little fees for them. The rest I'm not really massively impressed with compared to them 3.
I went large on Josh Keeley last season because when Forster was given his year's extension, I assumed, trying to read between the lines, that, okay, Forster would be number 2 this year if he wasn't injured. And Josh Keeley's gone out of Barnet because he'll now be the next number 2. But since then, Brandon Austin, who's 24, 25, has been given a 5-year contract, which is his age for a goalkeeper is fair enough. He was the under-21 goalkeeper for England. And Austin's done all right, isn't he, in his pre-season games when he's come on? Let's be fair. And now I'm beginning to think I've got egg on my face. I mean, like, what do you think of Austin, Soren? What little you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange one, isn't it? But I suppose with goalkeepers, you know, they always do come that little bit later. I mean, I think I was probably a bit like you, expecting maybe Austin to be maybe moved on or sold or loaned again, and Healy to be brought into it slowly. But you've got to say, from what Austin's done, he kind of deserves a chance. And you don't give a goalie like that 5-year, contract if he's not in your future thoughts. So,
well, him and Whiteman, they're both academy trained in skip,
Yeah.
and we've only got three.
Yeah,
SAR doesn't count. So we
yeah,
need.
I mean, the thing is, if Vicario's on form like he was last year, you always worry who's going to come in for him if he does get injured. And from what we've seen of those little cameo appearances, then Austin doesn't look a bad shout. Whether he would be good enough and secure enough to do a number of games in the Premiership, we won't know until we see, will we? So, but maybe the thought is that by giving him a 5-year contract, he gets used to being with those players in training and things like that, and they get a little bit of rapport going, and maybe it will work. But only time will tell with him. I think goalies is one of those that the flatter. If you're sat on the bench game after game after game after game after game with no real thought of coming on unless there's an injury, then it's got to be hard to come on and just hit the floor running, because you've got to, as a goalie, you've got no leeway, have you? Once you're on that pitch, you've got to perform. We
were linked with Garcia at Espanyol as a goalkeeper, but Ellie, I mean, you watch the under 21s like I do. Yeah. I think we're pretty well fixed in the goalkeeper position, because you've got Keeley, you've got Austin. I think Whiteman's probably the nearest one under threat, but he's homegrown. But Gunter was brilliant for the under 21s. Yeah.
He was fantastic. I think he's the future one. I think Austin's just filling in. I think they're giving him a 5-year contract, but I think this Gunter guy is going to overtake him, all right, because he's fabulous. He was making some magnificent saves very agile goalkeeper, and I think he will step up and he will be our number 2. But I think Brandon Austin's been given it because of loyalty to the club, and he has performed well. I must admit, he's performed very, very well in pre-season, and he's giving Vicario, because Vicario's made a few gaffes against Bayern Munich, and if he makes a few more like that, he might be sitting on the bench, and Austin will take his place for now. Yeah, you don't know, because Vicario's a very likable guy, but sometimes you've got to be harsh in football. You can't have favourites, right? Postecoglou, I think he's the sort of manager. If a player's underperforming and he's not doing it for him, he's going to drop him, right? So Vicario's place is under threat now, so he's got to step up in the real games now, because it starts on Monday, our game against Leicester. If he makes another gaff and it's going to be on TV, right, everybody's going to see it. So he's got to step up, really. And Austin's waiting in the wings, isn't he, to take his place if he does.
Phil, Ashley Phillips, 6'4", man mountain. Ange doesn't seem to fancy him, does he? I mean, to play Skip as a centre back with Archie Gray in these pre-season friendlies, what do you make of that?
I mean, through pre-season, he didn't really fancy him, and it spelled volumes to me that he didn't really fancy him, and he was going to go out on loan. I think Getafe, are in the wings trying to get him. So I think a loan move will probably be good. So I think that we'll get a centre back in before the window shuts. I think Phillips will go out on loan. I mean, he's 19, so I think it's better for him to go out on loan, to be honest with you, because I don't think he'll get a lot of game time. And I think being in defence doesn't really give you that experience, like a championship would. So I think it'd be beneficial for him, for his career, and for Tottenham, that he goes out on loan, to be honest with you.
Do you think Ange's reasoning could be partly because, you've got Romero's right-footed and you've got Dragusin who's right-footed. So maybe he's most thought, I don't really need to play him. I want to see what Skip and Gray can do, so I won't play Phillips.
Yeah. I mean, I think we are after a left-sided player, to be honest with you. That can cover for left back and left-sided centre back. I think Phillips is more comfortable right centre back. So I don't think he's fitted to how we play, to be honest with you. I don't think he's got the pace. I might be wrong on that, but I think he's just a bit slow for my liking.
When I've seen Phillips, I don't think he's slow, and he's good moving the ball forward, but he's right-footed, which might go against him, as we've got others in the wings. We've got Vaskovic coming in the end of next season. Plus, if you're looking for a left-sided centre-back, I'd want one that play at left-back, because I think left-back's more important to us than left centre-back is, because we can cover that with Davis. I mean, Alfie Dorrington, he's better on the ball than Phillips is, but he's still got that. He had that nasty injury, and I don't think he's going to be back. So I don't know if he'll be named in the squad at all, because he'll have to rehabilitate, won't he? So when
I say slow, Adrian, I mean slow on the turn. I don't mean slow like Dragusin's the same. He's quite quick, going forward, but on the turn, I think he's a bit slow as well, to be honest with you. I think, Van der Ven, on the turn, get back. Do you know what I mean? It's,
Yeah, that's fair.
Similar.
Have you seen much of Phillips, Soren?
I'm not going to say I've seen a lot of him, but I have seen a bit of him. But I mean, I thought he was quite pacey. I think because of his height, he sometimes looks a bit languished. So you know when he does open up, but it's hard to tell sometimes how much pace these defenders have got when they don't play in a system that needs a lot of pace. You know, if you're playing in a back four that's sat quite deep or sat back a lot, then you're not going to use your pace that much. But I mean, from what I've seen of him, he seems, you know, quite handy on the ball, quite good in the air. I am just surprised that it hasn't been used a little bit. You know, I think the fact that we bought him and we wanted him kind of makes you wonder why we haven't at least tried him. Whether he really isn't Angie's type of player or what, you know, that's only time will tell then. But I certainly think we should have tried him, and it did seem a bit strange in those games where we couldn't have maybe pushed somebody on, you know, to give him some game time to see what he could do. But yeah, maybe he's going to go out on loan. But I mean, I just find it pretty strange if we are looking for that sort of left-sided player, why we didn't go in for like Todibo or somebody like that.
Or Hincapié, who can play in that role.
Yeah,
well.
but didn't, you know, you look at it and think when we were looking at Van der Ven, it was Todibo we was looking at then, wasn't it? Was it? No, it wasn't. It was Tapsoba? Tapsoba. So why didn't we go for Tapsoba when he was available this year? You know, that seems a bit strange to me. I mean, but
if we fancied him, if I fancied him in pre-season, and then I could see that, you know, he's got an idea of him to play and play a sort of role this season. But I mean, playing Archie Gray instead of him at centre back, even Skip at centre back in some games in pre-season. I mean, if they're getting in front of you and you're a young centre back who wants to impress, and you're not getting picked, there's something wrong.
Yeah, but I think Gray was given. I think it's all about giving Gray minutes, because I think he's going to play quite a bit this season.
We'll give him minutes on when he's in midfield. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it was just a matter of getting time into his legs. I think Gray is going to be one of those players that will be playing quite a bit for us, and I think he'll be.
I think that's why we won't go for a centre back, because you can play Gray there as well. Now Ange knows he can play at right back, he can play in midfield, he can play there. He's so versatile, and it's not like you know he's a jack of all trades, master of one. He looks good wherever he's been put. You know, to me he does anyway. But like I say with Bergvall and Gray, and that I said it to Mark earlier. You know, these players have got to show us they can do it over 90 minutes. We've only seen them do it in halves at the moment. So will the stamina and their bodies stand up to it? Fitness-wise, how many 90-minute games can they play? Maybe they'll play loads. But we're treading water with them because we don't know. I like the look of them, right? But I want to move on. Alfie Devine, maybe rumours get a loan to Sheffield United. Last year he went to Plymouth with Ashley Phillips. They sacked their manager. Now, the reason those two players partly went there, because when they were the England coaches there, the England coaches were working at Plymouth, and so they went there. Well, then Devine wasn't fancy. I think he's lost time in his development, which is a pity, which annoys me when our players go out on loan and don't get game time. But, you know, when he came in the pre-season, that second half against QPR, I thought he bossed the midfield. And Spence was a close second behind him. I'd have given him my man of the match. What did you think, Ellie? You was at that game.
Yeah, he was very good. I like all our youngsters, but he does stand out because he's got something about him that's quite special, and I think he will improve as well because he'll get a lot of game time, like you guys said, and I think he's a lad that's got his head screwed on as well. You know, he's very committed. You can tell that he loves playing football. He's got football in his family as well, hasn't he? So I just want him to be a star player for us in years to come as well. not just be like he's not going to get. He's going to get game time, but he's not going to get all of the game time. So I think he will develop, and I think he'll become a better player for it. And I just see him as a future star as well, because there's something, the way he moves the ball and the way he beats players, it's like they're not there, you know. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. I know some people have got the jury out on him, but I like the player. I think he's fantastic, and he's got a lot more to learn in football as well, and he will develop at Spurs. Ange Postecoglou is a fabulous coach. I don't care what anybody says. He's really good with youngsters as well, so he'll develop them and he'll make sure that they're looked after at the club as well. Because when you're young and you come to a big club like Spurs, there's a lot of expectation, you know. So I'm hoping that he doesn't get his head turned like a lot of our older senior players and get into the wrong things. So let's see what Ange Postecoglou can do with his coaching staff and bring this player on for us, because I think he's got something special about him.
Mark, have you seen much of Divine at all?
No, hardly anything.
Okay.
To be honest, obviously, you know, I didn't watch many of the pre-season games, so I don't really know a lot about him. I know he was at Plymouth last year, but they sacked their manager, didn't they? Because he went there because of the England.
Soren, have you seen much of Divine?
Probably not as much as you and Ellie have, but what I have seen, I think Ellie just summed it up pretty well there. So he's certainly one that's got a bright future, and you know, you kind of look at it and think he's going to be a player somewhere. Let's hope it's Tottenham, because I do think he's got some quality. And his touch is pretty good, isn't it? You know, he knows what he's doing, and I think this is the beauty of what we seem to be creating at Tottenham, that we're getting these young players that are quite hungry, and if they've got that hunger for the game and they've got a natural talent in there, you just hope it will work for them. And I think he's another one of those players that you hope he hits where we all want him to go. So yes, I think he could have a bright future as long as he keeps his feet on the ground and, you know, he gets his chance. It's the same with all these young players, though, isn't it? It's about giving them time. You know, it's about getting them on the pitch and giving them time and showing them that you believe in them and letting them go out and play football and just see where his level is.
Phil, have you seen much of Divine?
Not really. Not recently, anyway. I have seen him play a couple of years back quite regularly, but I haven't seen him recently. I didn't see him play at Plymouth either. But I know that, you know, I've heard a lot of things about this kid. He's a talented footballer. What I've heard as well is that he's unhappy at the club at the minute with the lack of game time that he's having, because he is in his 20s now, I believe. So he's one of the senior sort of players in the under-21. So I think
he may be 20 because he was 15 when he scored that goal against Marine away in the FA Cup. I think he was 15 then, so I think he's 19, 20. I think he's 20.
Yeah, so I think he does need he does need another one of the players that are in the under-21s that need game time outside of Tottenham, to be honest with you. I don't see him getting any game time this season for us, and I don't think it's beneficial for him to stay in the under-21s. I think he needs game times, in the Championship again. And let's see what we can do.
Nita, our goalkeeping coach is Rob Birch, for those that don't know, and we have 5 other first-team coaches. So when people talk about sorting out set pieces, I mean, you've got Matty Wells, who's an ex-Spurs player. He's the first-team coach now. Curtis went to Birmingham. You've got Milo Jedinak, who came from Villa. You've got Ryan Mason, homegrown. And then we brought in 2 coaches, didn't we? Nick Montgomery and Sergio Raimondo. They were with Mariners in Australia, had success out there. and they were with the Scottish under-21s and Hibernian as well. So when people say we need to bring in a set-piece coach, surely someone out of those 5 can sort the defence out. You know what I mean? So,
I mean,
it doesn't look like it, does it?
I find that comment quite astonishing, really, because I would have said Vicario was one of our strongest players last year.
Yeah, me as well.
I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, he had a couple of moments where some say it was foul, some say it wasn't. You know, when they were hugging him and pushing him into his own net. But you know, I don't think there's a goalkeeper out there last season that we would have swapped him for.
No.
He had better performances than worse ones, to be honest with you. I think he's one of our better players last season.
He saved us a lot of points.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a couple of flaps this pre-season, but that's what pre-season's about, isn't it? Get them flaps out of the way, and you know, I mean, that's what makes me laugh a little bit. That I think, can't remember if it was Phil or Mark or Ellie mentioned it earlier. You know, that he'd had those flaps, and we look at that. That's two big things that he's done that have basically ended up in goals, and nobody's really mentioned it. But yet everybody wants to slay Archie Gray off because you know, he was overrun with Bayern that were putting 2 or 3 players on him. You know, I just find it quite interesting that we don't pull up on some mistakes, but we do on others. And look, Vicario, after last season, I wouldn't swap him for any goalkeeper in the Premiership.
And his communication is fabulous.
It is, and yeah, I mean, you know, when you hear him shouting at his defenders and things like that, then you know he's a damn. And look, there isn't a goalkeeper out there that doesn't make a mistake somewhere or other. And like I say, if that's his 2 mistakes for this season, then I'd rather them come in pre-season than in actual matches. And you know, I mean, see what happens.
He's 6'4". He's very agile, right? So he needs his defend. We need to defend better at corners, right? So you can't put it all on Vicario, right? Because they'll put a player on him. They were doing it all the time, and it's up to one of our players to get in between that player and our goalie and push him away. Just get him off our goalie.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
A season or 2 back, every one of them would have been a foul. Every one of them would have been a foul. Whereas now this last season, all of a sudden it's not a foul, and you know,
it's disgraceful what they were doing to Vicario.
All I was going to say is that I think he can be a little bit stronger in the penalty area. I think he can be.
He doesn't really get sent off, probably. You know what? With goalkeepers, right, Phil? I understand your point of view. Yeah, he has to be stronger, but the defenders have to be stronger as well.
Of course.
They just let a bloke like against Arsenal. He was right up. He was right pushing him and everything, putting him off, right? And if he pushes him back, he's going to get a yellow card or a red card. That's the problem.
That happened a couple of games as well, Ellie, where we didn't really. It happened a couple of times in games, and we didn't. Ange Postecoglou didn't put a player on their card.
I know.
He didn't rectify it, but
we were
he did do that. But I think Vicario can be a little bit stronger. That's just my opinion. He can be. He can just brush the player off and go for the ball and command his area a little bit more. The other thing was his distribution is a little bit questionable as well, but. You know, I've no qualms about his ability as a keeper. You know, shot stopping, communication with the back line. I've no qualms with him there. It's just the little things that he can tweak. Tweak.
He's got to
work. At the end of the day, Phil, we've got to remember he was the cheap option.
Yeah, he was. It's a snip, isn't it? But
I mean, You know, everybody tells us how he was the cheap option, and then all of a sudden everybody tells us that everybody knew how good he was. So
yeah, do you know?
And fans were saying, "Why didn't we get Rayo? Why didn't we get Rayo?" And we ended up with Vicario. And my take on Vicario is, and I said it, they was having, this is a few podcasts ago, I was invited on someone's podcast a while back, and they were talking about their player of the season. And everyone was going like, VDV, we know he scored 2 great goals, and Romero because he had a great season and all that. And they come around to me and said, "Who's your man of the season?" I said, "Vicario." And they said, "Why'd you pick him?" I said, "Well, you're picking the sexier players that are noticed." I said, "Look how many goals Vicario saved us this season. We'd never got 5th without him." Now, I've been critical of him on his recent passes out from the back, the suicide ones that have conceded goals. At least they've been in pre-season friendlies, and he can be alerted to that. And when he was criticised before, he got a bit better in the last couple of games about not being aggressive in the box. Well, that was when teams started doing that. And in Italy, goalkeepers are protected a lot more, you know. So like he's just having to slightly adapt. He will adapt. He's admitted it. And one of the pressers, I see him like he said, "Yeah, I know I need to do this and all that." So that's good. But to me, he played every game last season. VDV didn't. Romero didn't. He played every game, and to me, he was my player of the season, right? For the goals he saved, you know. I mean,
the argument to that, Adrian, is you could pick 3 players last year, and that was Van der Ven, Tutti, and Vicario, and every one of them kind of deserved to be within that list. You know, I think if you sat with 20 or 30 people, you would get quite a few different answers, and you couldn't argue against any of them being named man of the season. That's my argument. And if you've got 2 or 3, 4 players like that, that means you've had a good, you know, you've done somewhat decent at least. I mean, the only downside to it is if your keeper's your man of the season, then it doesn't say much for your defence and your forwards, does it?
Well, Peter Schmeichel won a lot of man of the season, didn't play the season.
If Vicario was half the goalie, that's Peter Schmeichel was in the end. Then
he's a man beast compared to Vicario's very slim. There's nothing of him. That's why I think they should work on his physicality to get him a little bit more beefier.
The thing is, though, would that take away from what he does?
I don't know, because I mean, it didn't take it away from Schmeichel. Look how big he was.
No, but he was a big man anyway, wasn't he? I mean,
he just spread himself, didn't he?
Yeah.
Send him round your place, Ali, for a meal.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Schmeichel was, you know, he was just
brilliant.
Yeah, he was just a goalie in his own league.
Fans should understand that when we do critiques on players, we don't hate them. We're just picking up on what we think areas they should improve on.
Yeah.
If they're that bad, we will go at them large, and we obviously won't want them at the club. We'd want them moved on. I just talking about moving players on. I think there's 2 more we need to get rid of, and I think because we spent in theory 139 million in a transfer window and got 50 million back, I think we are going. Our last player we bring in, this is my opinion, I could be totally wrong, that we will bring a midfielder in who I don't know. I believe we can afford Eze. We can afford Locatelli, people like that. But I just want to talk to you guys before we talk about the preview of Leicester and your lineups and things like that. Is Lo Celso, there's been interest from Real Betis, Villa, and now even Jose at Fenerbahce. Now, Jose signed Lo Celso because he was on loan while he was our manager, right? And and Reguilon, there's been interest from Barcelona, Galatasaray, and Fenerbahce again. So, Phil, you're hopeful these will both be gone in the next week so we can get a midfielder in?
Yeah. Simply, yeah. I don't want these 2 players at the club, to be honest with you.
Who would you want in midfield? I mean, like, obviously the fan base would like Eze, but if he is a more expensive option, they're talking about, would you take Locatelli? Would you take Morgan Gibbs-White? Would you take Ederson? Fratesi from, I'm giving you a long list here, Fratesi from Juventus. Another box.
Like any of those players, to be honest with you, but the one is Eze for me.
Eze, yeah.
He's the one player that he suits Tottenham Hotspur, to be honest with you. with the other players that you mentioned. Locatelli is more of a 6 who breaks up play. He can play the 8 as well.
Yeah.
To be honest, yeah, I mean Locatelli, I wouldn't be, you know, I would like at the club because he's got that tenacity and he's an Italian midfielder. He brings that bit of bite into the midfield. I think that's what we need in the midfield, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, Eze out of them players would be my pick.
Mark, so do you think we're waiting to get those two off the wage bill before we go for a Locatelli or an Eze or someone else left field like we got today?
Well, let's hope not. Let me know. If we carry on like this, we'll be signing a sperm soon.
That young, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's one for like 20 years in the future. You know, I mean, personally, just get Eze.
Yeah.
That's it. Because it's all right signing all these kids, but we need experience in the team.
So, Ellie, do you think? Oh, go on. Yeah, go on.
No. We need the experience. All right, these kids are probably good in 2 or 3 years.
Johan Lange is, as Mark suggested, is waiting at the maternity ward for our next midfielder to be born, or what?
Yeah, that sounds really funny, Mark. Bloody hell. Right, yeah, because we are signing quite a lot of young players, aren't we? But I'm with the panel, Eze, all the way, because like he can create. He's such a classy player on the ball. He's just like he can bring something different to our team. He'll give Maddison a run for his money as well. Maddison will be stepping up his game to make sure he doesn't lose his place as well. And I've watched him with my husband's team, QPR, and I thought he stood out. And when he played for Palace, he got that injury and he came back and I think he scored 10 or 11 goals when they were fabulous goals as well. And he scored a worldie at our ground from a free kick. You know, he's got everything, the boy, you know, and I think he will even be better player with us because he'll have better players to play with. I just think he's the one. I don't know much about Locatelli, to tell you the truth. I know he's a defensive midfielder.
And a cam. He's a cam as well. Central attacking midfielder as well. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I think Eze's proven himself in the Premiership and he's shone for Crystal Palace. So let's go and get our man. We have to play through the odds to get him because I think Palace want the money all up front, don't they? And
it's a bit. You never know with Palace. With I'm going to come to you, Soren. With the rumor that Newcastle are going to offer 65 million for Gueye.
They have. That was on Sky Sports News earlier.
Yeah,
was it? I see something written earlier about that. So I'm wondering about how many players they'll have stripped out of their squad. I mean, Soren. I mean, like, surely Eze. This is the time for him to move for his career, isn't it? I mean, like, if the rumors with Man City because Bob's injured or whatever, like, but I mean, like, he's got more chance of sitting time on the bench. The new players into Man City seem to sit on the bench for a season before they get in a team.
But what says they're going to cost? You know, I mean, the release clause has gone now, so that I think that ends either today or this weekend.
Tonight.
It's
midnight tonight.
Yeah, so you know, there's nobody has put a bid in for him. So once that's gone, then they can ask what they want for him. I mean, it could go up to 100 million. They want to sell him, and to me, I'd rather have Locatelli. I'd go out and buy Locatelli before I bought Eze now. You know, like 20 million, 25 million. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
it's got to be a no-brainer, but you know, to me, I think. As good as Eze is, and I'm not doubting that, and you know, we've all seen him play, and we'd all love him at Tottenham, but I just don't know. I think if we were getting Eze, I think we'd have just done it. So
do you think we got the money for Eze? Because then I'm going to ask you another question. Okay. Let me tempt you all then. Question to all of you: would you take Locatelli Now you're talking about all that money for Eze, 60, 68 million, right? Maybe that now, maybe 70 now. It's gone. I don't think that no one's going to pay any more than that. The money ain't out there, but 60 million. So would you take Locatelli and a left back instead of Eze?
I'd take Locatelli on his own.
Phil?
Right, Phil. Hello, sorry. Yeah, go on, Adrian. What were you saying?
Would you take Locatelli and a left back for the money that would cost you to buy Eze?
Would I swap Eze? Is what you're asking?
Well, if Eze's going to cost 70 mil, I believe we can afford him. This is, I mean, it's only the only stumbling block is the down payment they would want. If we put 30 mil down on Solanke, rumoured, we don't know the truth.
It's the money up front, isn't it, Adrian? It's the 60 million.
That's it. That's it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to have the player, but I mean, Locatelli is also quality, right? So, what I'm saying is, would you take Locatelli and get a left back in for 60 million, the pair of them? I mean, I don't think left back's going to cost you 40 million, but not the ones I'm looking at. If it's Dorby,
yeah, I mean, it would have to be a defender that's versatile in the left back position and the left-sided centre back position. So, if you're asking me which defender with Locatelli, I would go with Hincapié, to be honest with you. So
I think Hincapié is going to cost you 60 mil. That's the only difference. If he's at Leverkusen, isn't he?
Yeah, he's at Leverkusen at the moment.
And whatever.
The problem with Hincapié, though, Phil, who are you going to play? Who's going to be first choice then, Hincapié or Van de Ven?
Oh, it'll be Van de Ven, but you need the squad, Soren.
Yeah, but is Hincapié going to come and sit on the bench?
Yeah, he could well be. He could well be. You know,
but I'm saying, do you honestly think he will come to sit on the bench?
I think so.
I don't.
I pick up on that a bit about the bench, Soren, because if we've got a minimum of 48 games this season, 38 league games, 8 Europa League games, at least a minimum of 1 League Cup and 1 FA Cup games. If you've got 48 games, barring injuries and suspensions, you should be able to field 211 teams and give every player 24 games. We know that won't work out like that. It doesn't work out like that. But when people say, "Oh, bring a player in, he won't come, he won't get game time," I struggle with that a bit. I'll see where they come.
It's the same with Dragusin when we bought him. Were he going to get game time? Did he?
Yeah, but
is he going to go in front of Romero and Van de Ven?
Yeah, but Dragusin isn't the same type of player as Hincapié, is he?
No, he's right-footed.
No, I don't mean it that way. I mean Hincapié is a more he's a more established player than Dragusin was.
I don't know on that. I mean,
oh no, he is.
I think both good players. I mean, Dragusin, what his agent says anyway, he'd be a good player in a couple of years' time. So, I mean,
we will, yeah, we will. But
I mean, you've got a squad in my eyes, and like Adrian, I was going to bring up that as well with the games that we have this season. We're going to have 50 odd games with the 4 competitions that we're in, and I think Dragusin will get game time as well. You know what I mean? So bringing in another centre back, that's scum down the road at Arsenal. They've got Calafiore, Gabriel, Saliba, Ben White, Timber. I mean, all these sort of players. These are established players, and they're staying in a squad at Arsenal where they know that they're going to get that game time throughout the season.
I do think it's different when you're talking, Hincapié is, to me, is a starting centre back. He's not an almost starting. He is a starting centre back. And if you said to me Hincapié and Romero, yeah, definitely, But now we've got Van de Ven. You kind of look at it and think, well, how do you replace Van de Ven with Hincapié? I would say they're both a pretty similar level, but I don't know whether Hincapié would want to come. And I mean, we say that, oh, well, we're going to play a lot more games. I'll tell you what, I don't think he'll change the sort of back four, back five that much unless he has to. The only thing you might see is some substitutions. But I don't see a lot of change in that back four throughout the season. And
players will have to be rested, though. They will reach.
Yeah, I
they'll
know
get
they will,
knocks, and they will. They'll be in the red zone, and they'll have to be rested.
Defenders are a little bit different, but you look at it. If we suddenly change, if we pull Van der Ven and Kuti out and put, say, Dragerson and say Hincapié, and they absolutely cocked up, the fan base would go into full meltdown because, oh, why have we changed our back four when we've been doing so well? If we're doing well or whatever, it's a no-win situation. And yes, as much as I agree with, bringing Hincapié in as the backup, I just don't know whether Hincapié would want to come as the backup.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Would we pay 60 million for a backup?
No.
Well, we did with Richie.
The price is a little bit. Yeah, the price is a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, but
Mark, would you take Locatelli if we weren't getting Eze?
Yeah, because all these shows I've been on, I've been saying we need a 6.
Yeah, and we need an experienced midfielder.
We desperately not that Ange ever plays with one, but to be honest, to me, that's his naivety. That's his naivety.
Because Locatelli would provide that solidity that an Eze always.
Yeah, I've been saying this. I've been saying this instead of getting overrun every game. Instead of getting overrun every game in midfield, like if you had a 6 there, and stop all this inverting nonsense. Or invert one of them. You know what I mean? Don't both do it at the same time.
Yeah, Danny's here, he knows.
Yeah, he's the expert because Dan watches a lot of Italian football.
Yeah.
Big up Dan, by the way.
Yeah, because I think
would you take Locatelli and a left back over Eze then?
I would, right? Because we've got Maddison, right, and we need somebody to hold that midfield. With experience. Locatelli's a fabulous player. We've got a competition with Hincapié, with Bayern Munich and Liverpool both coming in for him. And he's got to choose between the three if he's going to come to England, right, and ply his trade. But I think if we can land both of them, that would be fantastic. I think we need them two more than we do need Eze. A fabulous player Eze is. Right, we get him in January instead. We'll add him in January because I don't think we would have got him by now, wouldn't we?
Yeah,
problem with January transfer window is teams are fighting for relegation. They're challenging for cups and honours in their own leagues. If Palace are doing any of those, then you're not going to sell a player like that then in January. January is a painful transfer.
But the thing with Locatelli is he answers a lot of questions that he will go straight into the starting lineup. He will be that kind of number 6, but can go forward as well. And you just look at it and think, I think it's the same 20 million, 26 million, whatever. I mean, how can we not be looking at that? But then again, it's Tottenham. We won't be. That's the problem.
Yeah, if it doesn't affect our foreign quota, definitely we get rid. That's what I'm saying. Get rid of Lo Celso and Reguilon. They're two on that list, right, to get them off the foreign quota. And then go on, Mark.
I'll just say I don't know. I'll probably be on. Well, whenever you say to the next one.
You're breaking up, Phil. You're breaking up again, mate.
You need to go as well, Phil, don't you?
Yeah, I just need to off now. But yeah, thanks for me on. It's good to be on the panel with you.
Fantastic.
And big up the chat. And I'll see you on the next one, hopefully.
Yeah.
All right, cheers. Cheers, Phil. Thanks for coming, mate. Much appreciated.
Big up, Phil. Big up.
Love the Soren.
That's all right, mate. It's all right. Don't worry. We understand.
Ta-ra.
Cheers. Thanks. Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Phil.
Yeah, I think Locatelli would be a great bit of pressure to put on Basuma because I think at the moment Ange is now going to be playing Bennett. Well, we'll come to that next. Actually, we'll now move on. Right. Let's discuss a few little things before we get to the Leicester. Right.
Yeah.
VAR rule changes, guys. Right. Opinions. Obviously, we got automated offside. I think we can all breathe a sigh of relief for that. It means we might be able to celebrate a goal like when it happens instead of 3 days later, right? And,
or in the pub.
now, I didn't know this myself, right? Kick myself for not finding out. All 5 substitutes can warm up along the touchline instead of the present 3. How did that rule ever come into being? I mean, like I never knew only 3 subs could warm up at any one.
I didn't realise that was a rule, to be honest.
Didn't know that.
When has that been a rule?
Yeah, they've changed it now. All 5 can warm up.
Since when was it only 3?
I don't know. But why should we know that rule? We shouldn't know that rule. It's such a now.
So all 5 substitutes can warm up. Big deal.
Also,
that makes a big difference.
Yeah, obstructing or holding up play by members of your coaching staff or the away team coaching staff, delaying play by refusing to release the ball, time wasting away or whatever, will result in a red card.
Okay.
Is that only for coaching staff?
Well, it will be for. I don't. What if you give a ball boy a red card? I don't know.
No.
I know what you mean.
It's not going to be for outfield players, is it?
No. It'll be.
I was going to say, if they start doing that, it'll be like 5-a-side by the end of the game.
Yeah. So that's. I mean, I've not really seen.
What difference does that make, though? Really, I mean, to me, what it should be is if you give, say, if one of the players on the bench held the ball up, he should get a red card, but then that is one less substitution as well.
But what I struggle with this one is that round the pitch, there is a rule that you have so many balls on a cone around the perimeter of the pitch.
Yeah, they've got that as well.
How long does it take to get to a cone to get a ball?
I didn't think that was a rule, Adrian.
I think there is. I think there's a rule you've got to have 15 balls around the pitch. Or
it's
something.
17 now.
Yeah.
I thought the multi-ball was down to the club's discretion.
Because no, not anymore.
As in now or last season?
Last season, I think it was you could have it or you couldn't. But now it's
there was many a time that you saw where there wasn't. It didn't seem to have that multi-ball. So I mean, it might be this year, but which is a sensible thing.
Now it's got to be, I think, 17 balls on cones around the pitch.
Well, whatever. I thought it was 15. I mean, like, it's not a rule I'm too fussed about, to be honest with you. But I mean, like, now there's also the referees' on-field decisions to stand unless there is a clear and obvious error. So that should stop some VAR interruptions, right? Because even if they see something that's wrong, if it isn't a clear and obvious error, they've got to let the game play on. I'm not against that. Anything that keeps the game moving is good in my book, right? Any of you got comments on that? And then we'll come to
the only downside to that is that if it's again, it's that interpretation of clear and obvious, because the amount of times that we saw something last year and the VAR got involved and overturned it, but it wasn't necessarily clear and obvious. But it when you saw slow motions and all this, it kind of made sense. But I mean, there's only one rule they need to bring in to get changed, and that is the bloody offside. That is the one thing that needs to be sorted out because it is an absolute.
That'll be automated this season. Yeah, that'll be automated. But the controversial one now, and it's still going to have controversy, right, is the handball's decisions to be judged on a major change of direction of the ball. All right, I get that.
What's a major change of direction? You know, is that deflecting a little bit? A lot?
The hand has had an influence at where the ball.
Yeah, but even that's down to interpretation.
If it goes back to the player that kicked it, then it's obviously a change of direction.
I mean, you see the one when Dyer had his back to the ball and the ball hit his hand, they gave the handball. Do you remember the one?
It's like the handball in the bloody Champions League final, isn't it? I mean, how pathetic was that?
I still see controversy happen with the handball decisions because they will major change of direction. You've got to interpret what it is. I think that will go down to the referee again. I mean, I like I'm going back decades now. I like the old day when we used to have the spirit of the law and the referee would decide. whether he thought the handball was deliberate or not. Not this Sissoko hitting you in the shoulder. That would never have been given years ago, and they changed the rules since. And we all seem to be the club that falls foul of these rules. Like,
what gets me, Adrian, you can score with that part of your body. So how is it handball?
Yeah,
if
exactly.
the ball hits you there and goes in, it's a goal.
Right.
If it hits you there, it's not a goal.
They changed the rule after that as well. When Sissoko,
but they changed it.
It was the sleeve level, wasn't it? If it hit you on the sleeve level before, when we played Champions League, it was handball. Then they changed it below the sleeve level.
Hang on, I got to interrupt.
Yeah, exactly.
Manchester United have just scored.
Handball is this, not this. This is your arm. It's not hand. You know, to me, it should be clear that if you stick your hand out and you stop the ball, it's handball.
Breaking news. No, carry on, Soren. Carry on.
If the player hits it from 2 yards away, it is not handball. But it's the offside rule. It needs to be a little bit more sensible that if your toenail's offside, what happens if he's wearing a pair of boots that's bigger than his feet? You know, I mean, this is how stupid it is.
When Sissoko handball, it hit his thigh first and went up onto his shoulder. Yeah, so I mean that was really ridiculous. But it's open to interpretation.
That's the VAR thing. I think some of those things like handball, on-field decisions by the referee, you'll have fans screaming like, "Why didn't the referee let that go to VAR?" VAR now, like, you know what happened.
Right, I've just got some quick breaking news.
Go on.
Manchester United have just scored. That Xerxes.
Oh, Xerxes.
After 88 minutes.
Okay.
88 minutes.
Kate loves him. Really wants Kate wanted to sign him for Spurs.
It's 1-0.
Ages.
Right, we'll move on.
Yeah, look, it's Premiership, isn't it?
Right, we'll move on to your what we do with this with the team lineups. We do the team that you'd like to pick, and also the team that you think Ange will pick, because it will be different. Because I know a lot of Spurs fans will pick 11 attackers if they had half the chance. So, I mean, we know that now that Basuma's suspended, I mean, like, you could have midfield. Your midfield three could be Saar, Bentancur, Maddison. It could be Saar, Gray, Maddison. It could be Saar, Burville, Maddison. We'll talk about. We'll do the back five first. I think the back five will be pretty standard. We know what it's going to be. It's going to be Vicario, Porro, Udogie, VDV, and Romero, isn't it? Right. So we'll move on to. No, you don't think so?
I was just going to be silly and say no. I'm putting Alfie Whiteman in there, but yeah,
right.
Yeah, pretty standard back 4-5.
Your midfield, you'd like to see Soren, and what do you think Ange's midfield would be? We do the forward line last once I've gone through already.
Are we just picking the 3 in midfield?
Yeah, 3 in midfield. Your 3 that you'd like to see, and the 3 that you think Ange will pick. If it's the same 3, it's the same 3. You know.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see the kids play, but I don't think we will. So I'm going to kind of think. My choice is probably going to be the same as Ange, and I think it will be Papsar, Maddison, and Bentancur. If we were going to take the chance, then I would probably say put Bergvall in there, and maybe even Gray as that sort of 6 holding, sort of attacking same. But I don't think we will. I don't think the kids will play. I think they'll come on later in the match, but I do think it'll probably be Maddison. Yeah, Maddison.
So if Gray comes on, more of a holding midfielder than a 6, really, then, yeah? Or...
Yeah. I think he'll sort of play that sort of holding role, but I think he'll put Bentancur in there, to be honest with you. And I think he'll put Maddison in, and I think he'll probably put Papsar in. But I wouldn't be surprised if he put Kulu in. That's the only thing I just.
All right, we'll come to the forward line later. Mark, what 3 would you like to see in midfield, or what 3 do you think Ange will pick?
The 3 I'd like to see is Benny, Saar, and Bergvall.
Okay.
Because Bergvall's been a million times better than Maddison in pre-season. and I think he deserves his chance. But Ange will go Benny, Sarr, and Maddison.
Okay.
Because he will.
Ellie, your three, then I'll come to mine, and we'll go around again with the forward line.
Mark stole my thunder there. Yeah, I reckon that's spot on, Mark. I think he will go that way. Sarr, Bentancur, and Madders, because I think he'll think, right, the exuberance of youth not ready yet, right? And but I think Bergwall's been tremendous.
Yeah.
The way he receives the ball and he's so cool, calm, and collected. He actually deserves a place in front of Maddison, I think. But I don't think Ange is going to do it because he's going to play it safe.
Okay, I'll stay with you and go around again. Same on the midfield. Do you think, because this isn't in my client mind thinking, what he'll do, he'll go that way, and he'll get and will be like, we don't stop, and then on the hour mark, the changes will be made for fresh legs.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I see it going. I think, like we've all kind of said, it probably will be Bentancur sort of doing that holding role, Maddison and perhaps and then, like you say, it all depends how Maddison's playing. If he's playing crap, I think he'll bring him off at half time. You know, if he's not doing anything at all, I wouldn't be surprised if he brought him off at half time. But I do think that with the form that Bergwall has shown, I think he'll get on probably around that 60, 70 minute mark. I think Gray will come on over perhaps or Bentancur. It just depends how the legs are going. And it just depends whether, you know, I'm kind of expecting a lot of closing down and things like that and running around. So, yeah, I think we'll see the two youngsters come on at some point in the match, sort of around that 70. It depends. I mean, it depends if we're winning or losing, doesn't it? It depends how the game's going, but I do see them two coming on. I really do.
Mark, you same opinion?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Mark, or
100%.
maybe 20 minutes to go. Yeah.
But it's like, oh, hang on. Oh no, that was Mayor. Who was that? Someone's just missed an open goal for Man United. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, like I agree with what Soren said. If Maddison's not doing it, because let's face it, he's not done it in pre-season. He's been woeful. You know, take him up. What? Personally, if he's not doing it after 20 minutes, I'd take him off and put Bergwall on there. Well, Ellie, I'm ruthless like that.
Yeah, Ellie, do you see that? Do you see we're going to see a season with Ange fully utilising the squad on the bench, like in the second half?
I do, because I just want him to make the substitutions quicker. Because last year he was found a bit wanting. You know, he was making too late substitutions to affect the game, especially against Fulham away with 3-0 down, and he was keeping faith with the ones that weren't doing it for him, which is a bit of a shame because we could have got something out of that game if we only changed it about. Because I remember, I think Højbjerg came on with Bentancur and it changed the whole complex of that game. And he only gave him 15 minutes. It's not enough time to change it. But we created so much when those two were on. I just think he made quite a few blunders. Postecoglou, he did, and he should really get his act together in regards to seeing what's happening on the pitch and making earlier substitutions so we can get back into a game or even take the lead when it's at 0-0. I just thought we were a bit stale in that department.
It kind of a couple of times, didn't you, where he changed at half time and it really changed the game. So you kind of wondered why you never kept doing it. And then he went back to those, you know, late subs at sort of 80, 85 minutes. And you think, what can they do? What's the point?
It's not. It's a spite on the players as well. Like, I mean, Lo Celso got hardly any game time when he was brought on off the bench. He doesn't trust him, obviously, but bring on somebody else if you don't trust him and bring him on earlier so that he can affect the game.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think he'll go with Saab, Bentancur and Maddison. I mean, and one of the reasons is, although Ange can be accused of being gung-ho, this is an away game. It's not really the game you're going to throw youngsters in straight away, get them with the home crowd behind them. It's all like bringing them on late in the game with 20 minutes to go if the game's won, which I expect it to be won by half time personally. But and also like Maddison, you know, you're going to pick him because he's on his old hunting ground. He knows the pitch and all that. He'd be comfortable on it, and he's had a habit of playing really well there and scoring goals there. So you like sometimes you pick players against certain teams or on certain grounds when you know they've done well, don't you? So
I suppose the only thing to look at though, Adrian, is depending what happens in training this last week or so, that if say Bergvall or Gray or any of the other lads have really shone and Maddison hasn't shown it in training, maybe he won't start. It's until Monday night we're not going to know, really, are we? So
right, we'll move on to the
the
more challenging part of the selection, the front three. Now, I mean, Decky's had scored 3 goals, 4 assists. He's been our best. I'm a fan, right? So I'm biased anyway. But, I mean, he's been our best player pre-season without a shadow of a doubt, right? No two ways about it. And I think he deserves a place in this lineup. Where you choose to play him is another thing. If you choose to play him at all, Soren. I mean, I know Jose was here. He'd pick 2 fast wingers, wide wingers. He loves pace above all else. So we know that Richarlison's fit. We know Solanke hasn't been bought to sit on the bench, right? We know Decky's played well. To be honest, Johnson has been poor pre-season, in my opinion. Werner's come on late, so I'm not sure he's an Ange first pick because, he's only been brought on late. But then that could be deceiving you because Ange knows what Werner can do, which is nothing, in my opinion, not much. But no, he's not a bad footballer. He just can't score to save his life, right? So your front three for this game. I mean, you could go Son, Solanke, Kulu. You could go Son, Kulu, Johnson. You could go Son, Richarlison, Kulusevski. I mean, you could go Richarlison. You could go Son, Richarlison. You know what I mean? And maybe Solanke even. You know, I mean,
okay, so my starting front three: Werner on the left.
Oh no, you're having a laugh, right? Go on.
just looking at all your expressions there, Mark was like,
no.
What? No, look, Sonny's got to start.
He'll have a heart attack. Say Werner on the left.
Sonny's got to start on the left. Solanke's got to start. I'll be gobsmacked if Solanke don't start up front. And I would expect Kulu on the right.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I just don't see any other way. Unless Kulu's in the middle. And then it'll be Johnson on the right.
Right, okay. Mark, your front three? You're on mute, I think.
See, it was that gobsmacked with me having Werner started. He's turned it off.
I'm not sure what happened there.
You're back. You're back.
Yes.
So are you going Werner on the left, Richarlison in the middle, and Johnson on the right?
Certainly not. Right, it'll be Son on the left, Solanke in the middle, and Kulu. It's got to be Kulu, but just for the
form,
just for what he done in pre-season.
Okay.
You know, I mean that's my choice and probably what Ange will do.
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't, then questions have got to be asked.
Ellie, your front three?
I think that's what's going to be the front three. Sonny on the left, Solanke in the middle, Kulu on the right. The only way Kulu's not going to be on the right is if he plays that false 9 and he drops Madders and he plays as a number 10 or a false 9, and then he uses Brennan Johnson on the right.
That could happen in the substitutions. I mean, Kulu could move into the 10, Madders could come off, and then, like you say, he might want to inject a bit more pace on the right. He might even bring the new signing on. Who knows? for 10, 20 minutes, you know, on the right, because you can play on both sides.
If we're losing the match, I think we're going to see our new signings and the youngsters in the second half for sure.
What you noticed last season when we scored a lot of our late goals in the last 15, 20 minutes of the game, he always brought pace on. He either brought Vernon on or he brought Johnson on, because for that time the opposition are tiring and you are not going to keep up with those two. They may not be that great in front of goal, but I mean, you're not going to keep up with them.
But Brendan Johnson scored quite a few.
Yeah.
They were tackles.
Quite nifty, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He's very tricky. He can slalom, like, you know.
He can dribble, can that lad? Yeah, I mean,
he can dribble.
But then Mark could say they can all dribble being that young.
Well, yes, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
But obviously, I know. Well, yes. Well, you know, the game will finish at 10 o'clock. Half of them will have to be in bed before then.
Yeah, I mean, audio is left out. Solanke and Richarlison gone for Kulu in the middle. I get that. Do I know what Ange's going to do? I don't think he's going to leave Kulu out, because Kulu gives you that bit of extra defensive qualities away from home, doesn't he? So if you are under pressure, it helps out, and you're away. So I think he gives you that hold up play. So I think he will play him. I think it will be definitely Sonny on the left. In the middle, he could surprise us, but you're thinking that money for Solanke, or he could start with Solanke and then, so as not to upset Richarlison, maybe Richarlison will come on for the last 20 minutes to add a bit of shithousery towards the end of the game and like press like mad, especially if we're only holding a 1-goal lead or something like that. Then I think that could be very effective. Right, that's very good, guys. We're on the 2 out. We'll go to the light-hearted section. I hope you've prepped for this. I mean, you should know what's coming. I mean, we're not going to do the empty trophy cabinet today, like we're on the 2-hour mark, but we'll do the easy bit, right? We'll do like the questions we ask the guests, the mods, and the admins. First question is always, how did you become? No, we've done that, Spurs fan. Name a favourite Spurs player, choose a particular Spurs victory, and select a special Spurs goal. So, Soren, you are a guest. So, right, name a favourite Spurs player that you haven't picked before.
I'm trying to think who I've picked so far. Right, I'm gonna go.
I was trying to do that as well. I honestly couldn't remember the ones I'd picked before.
Yeah. Well, that's your homework, guys. You should be doing
that. No. I think this is one that I could have picked at any point, and I don't think I have picked him. But I'm gonna go David Ginola. Because I just think every time he's a bit, you know, he's a bit like Gareth Bale. Every time he got the ball, you expected something was going to happen. And I mean, look, as much as you can say, you know, footballing skills were beyond belief sometimes, but bloody hell, what a good looking chap as well. You know, he still hasn't lost it, has he? I hope I look that good at his age, but well, I obviously don't already, but never mind. Yeah, David Ginola is one of my all-time greats. I just think he was electric. He was absolutely electric.
Right, that's a good call. Right, so choose a particular Spurs victory. Sorry.
Particular Spurs victory. I'm gonna say, and I can't remember what season it was. That's the problem, but we played Man City away at Man City, and I was there, and it was one of the first games where Gareth Bale came on, and we won with him playing. And it was, everybody in the crowd was like, "Oh no, Bale's starting again," you know, and we were all pretty down about it because it was right at that point, and we actually won the game. And if I remember right, it was 2-1. And it was one of the first times that as going to matches where the Spurs fans were absolutely electric. That, you know, we got singing "Oh, when the Spurs," and I think the whole stand was singing, and the hairs on my back were standing, and it was just absolutely beyond words. It was an absolutely phenomenal. Did get a parking ticket as well, so I was pissed off.
Right, now a special Spurs goal.
Oh, do you know, there's just been so many, so I'm gonna go with, and I can't remember his frigging name. It was one. I think he was our left back or left winger or defender. Begin with an E. I can't remember his name. Bloody.
Egbert?
No, it wasn't Ricotta. Who?
Egbert.
Edmund.
Edmund. Steph. Was it?
Stephen Egbert.
Yeah. Was it? I think it was, and it was like a 50-yard shot home. Well, it probably wasn't 50 yards, but it was an absolute screamer. And I just remember seeing it, and it was like, yeah, he's not going to shoot from there. He's not going to bloody hell. It's a goal. And I'm sure it was Edmund. I'm sure it was Edmund. And it was just one of those where we kind of scored out of, that was it. Eric Edmund, Liverpool. Pretty sure.
Yes, I remember that.
It was just an absolute screamer, and you just didn't see it coming, and it was unstoppable. Absolutely.
Eric Edmund, all the arts says, which is a good call. I mean, like, because I remember the Wanyama screamer at Liverpool as well. No one's picked that yet.
Yeah.
Well,
I think there's been the problem is there's been that many sometimes, and you just can never remember who they were against or when or.
Yeah, but they're good fun because they're a history lesson. They take you back to those games. You know what I mean? So you've done your three. So, Mark, favourite Spurs player. Pick a favourite. Don't pick back Gary Mabbott again. You've had him 8 times. Right?
No, yeah. I was going to say no.
I thought it was 9.
Hoddle, Mabbott. I think I did Ginola as well.
Fair enough. Go on.
Ginola.
Yeah. Right. Oh, we discussed this, didn't we? Before we come. Who did I say? Robbie Keane. I've remembered.
Good choice.
Yeah. Just for what he was, fantastic player. I was actually gutted when he went to Liverpool, but I understand why he did because they were his boyhood club. But it never quite worked out for him there, did it? And was it a year later or a year?
When his medal was Spurs as well.
Actually, he returned to us in 6 months.
Oh, was it 6 months? Wow.
Yeah, 6 months. I remember it well.
The vision of Robbie Keane, I always remember, is not so much his goals, him biting his fingernails as he's holding on to the 2-1 lead after Jonathan Woodgate scored. Like Robbie Keane's like this in the stands. So we're on the fence, though. Because Chelsea were piling on the pressure.
Oh, yeah. But Chelsea were a top team back then.
Don't say that. Hold on, you mentioned Chelsea.
Oh, hang on. Here we go. Big up the young lady as well.
Whoever she is, we should buy her a pint.
Did we play Arsenal that year as well?
Oh, hang on, here we go.
I think we did.
Arsenal get battered everywhere they go. Arsenal get battered everywhere they go. Everywhere they go. Arsenal get battered everywhere they go. Arsenal get battered everywhere they go.
We've got to do the triple, haven't we? Come on, somebody.
We'll go for the treble. Did we play West Ham that year as well?
We would do.
Right now.
The booing in that is actually they were taking the fan out who's doing the smoke flare thing, like, you know.
No, right. No, before I carry on talking about
Robbie Keane,
if you could go to Ronnie's comment 3 down.
Hang on, let me get back to the comments.
Yeah, see, I'm putting work on you here. Right now, Ronnie, I was actually at that game. I was there, but I was sat with the Liverpool fans, unfortunately. And Klinsmann slid right in front. Well, he didn't slide because I've since watched it back. I thought he slid in front of me, but one of the Spurs players jumped on him and wrestled him to the ground, and it was right in front of me. And I couldn't help it. I just jumped up. Anyway, Robbie Keane. Yeah, he was just fantastic. Fantastic player. And I was gutted when he left. But 6 months later, he came back. So happy days.
We'll just say quickly as well, as a before I forget the player, because I know I won't pick him next time we say it, but a damn good player for us, I thought, was Pavlyuchenko. And he didn't get that much praise at the time, but
no,
what a player he was.
Super.
My
daughters loved him.
Yeah.
My daughters actually loved him because it was in their era when they loved Spurs and they were coming with me as well to the games. Yeah. He was a very decent player.
Have you done your 3 questions, Mark? Yeah.
No, I've only done one. I think it's just
because I played the music, the brain fog's kicked in.
We're talking about Arsenal and
favourite Spurs player. Choose a particular victory, Mark. Particular victory.
Well, we had this discussed, and it was a game that Robbie Keane scored in, but it's not a victory. It was the 4-4 draw against Chelsea.
Arsenal, you mean?
We'll let you have that.
No, the 4-4 with Chelsea at the Lane.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but it's not a victory, so I feel like I've let you down a little bit. But Robbie Keane
like a victory at the time, though, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, because we were like 4-2 down.
Yeah,
4-3. We were certainly losing. And
all right, we'll allow it. We'll allow it. So then, your last question is: select a special Spurs goal.
Well, it's from that game. It's where I think the ball was lumped forward and it hit one of the Chelsea defenders on the back because he was facing the wrong way for some reason. I don't know what he was doing that for. It hit him on the back. And Robbie Keane just curled it into the far corner, and it was fantastic. I believe we were 4-2 down, and we scored 2 in about 5 minutes, right near the end of the game, and it was 4-4. That was like, I was watching it in a pub somewhere. This is what I say every week.
As you are very familiar with the pub, right?
No.
How come it takes 10 minutes to walk to your local, but 25 minutes to walk home?
Well, yeah.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
I've always found this as well. Yeah. Well, I always say I was abducted by aliens.
Okay. Ellie,
interesting one.
Name a favourite Spurs player.
Oh, I have to go for Steve Perryman.
Oh,
I absolutely adore Steve Perryman. I watch his podcasts as well.
He's not done one for a while, has he?
No, he hasn't done one. But I suppose because the season's not started yet, and he's probably on holiday somewhere exotic, you know. And he had what's it called? Aortic aneurysm, and he survived it. And you don't blame Steve Perryman. Nothing could kill him because he's a fabulous player, and him and Hoddle were fabulous together as well.
I think it was 853 games or more. No one's ever going to beat that.
He's such a loyal.
Trophies. I mean, he was at the club 14 years. I mean, he won 2 UEFA Cups, 2 League Cups, and 2 FA Cups.
He's our most decorated player as well. And I was listening to him
without junior honours as well.
Yeah, he was spotted, and his brother Ted used to bring him to the ground, and like he was taken under Bill Nicholson's wing, and he said so many fantastic stories about Spurs as well, you know, and how Bill Nicholson was, and you know, I just think he's a great man and a great player, and he's such a lovely man to speak to as well. He gives you time, you know. And what do you want to give me a great goal now? A great goal.
Choose a particular.
I find it
so many, like Soren said.
find it astonishing.
There's two victories that stand out with me with Perriman apart from those.
One was astonishing, Mark.
One was
I find it astonishing that he was with the club 14 years and he won 6 trophies.
Yeah, and also,
you know what I mean?
He's the only player in English history to have scored in every season that he's played. 17 goals. He scored in every season. 17 seasons he played for. He said 17 seasons, not 14. So he went for longer. But the most pleasurable goals, I think it was Gareth Bale's goal against West Ham.
Away.
Yeah, away. I absolutely hate West Ham. They nearly killed me at Steve Perriman's testimonial. Their fans, hooligan, idiots. They nearly killed me, right? But that goal was fabulous because he picked it up and he just takes one look at the goal and slams it into the top corner. And he runs to the bench. I love the celebration as well.
Was that the 3-2 or the 4-3?
Yeah, when we won 3-2.
Yeah, 3-2-1.
That was a great goal. Brilliant. But I was going to choose his goal against Stoke, that Van Basten one. But I've done that.
I
like the one against West Ham. It was brilliant. Yeah.
Is that your 3 questions, Ellie? Because when they got
then I have to say the most memorable game. Did you say?
No, your favourite player of Perriman, choose a particular Spurs victory, select a special Spurs goal.
Yeah, I didn't choose a particular Spurs victory, did I?
Right, go on then.
All right, so I'm going to go for the 5-1 against Arsenal at White Hart Lane when we knocked them out the League Cup. That was such a great... They were brilliant goals as well, you know. Fantastic goals. The way Berbatov flicks it off and then Aaron Lennon bombs it down the wing and he cuts it through to Robbie Keane, who finishes it beautifully. Fabulous game. And the lane was... I was there that game. I wouldn't miss it for the world, but the lane was rocking. It
Guess
was
where
like
I was, Ali.
The stadium was moving.
Was you in a pub?
I was in a pub for that game, surprisingly, with one of my mates who's an Arsenal fan.
All right.
Oh, good. You could rub it in.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Interesting naming that lot. Does any of you 3 think any of us will pick Berbatov as a favourite player?
I did it last time.
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
See, I kind of think he was a fantastic player, but I don't. I think the ending spoilt it for me with him.
Yeah,
because he wanted to leave. And why do you want to leave?
No one picked Darren Anden. Right. See, because I do the shows, I do a bit of prep on this. So
surprise.
I'm picking the Venables 1991 FA Cup final.
Right? Who lifted the trophy? Who did lift the trophy, by the way? I just thought I'd throw that in there. It might have been.
And
where would you?
No, I wasn't. I'd only just come out of hospital.
We were danger of going bust before we sold Gascoigne after he got injured doing that mad tackle. Right. And the cup final, because Spurs were 20 million debt, right? And the player I'm picking out the sadly deceased Justin Edinburgh, because he was so ballsy. The way he stood up to Roy Keane, who was snapping at him during that game, and he weren't having none of it, Justin Edinburgh. He wasn't having any of it at all, right? So I really admired it. And then, there was a kick out, I think, and it come to Paul Allen. We put the ball through to Paul Stewart on the right-hand side of the penalty area, and he drilled a low shot into the corner to equalise Stuart Pearce's goal. And, of course, we know that Mabbott was coming in at the far post to head the ball in if Des Walker hadn't headed it into his own net. So I'm picking the cup final. I'm picking Paul Stewart's goal in that cup final as a victory, and I'm picking Justin Edinburgh as the player.
Interesting story with that one, Adrian.
Go on.
The first ever bit of signed memorabilia that I bought was a signed football from that winning team that won that game.
Yes.
Oh, right.
It's the first bit of signed memorabilia I ever bought, and it was the full team that signed the football.
Nice
that won
one.
the FA Cup.
Happy days.
Yes,
Yeah.
happy days indeed. Yeah.
Right, guys. It's been a great show as usual. We've gone over 2 hours, which is about our norm. Yeah. I want to thank all of you in the chat channel. I want to thank all of you that watch us on playback. We do regular shows Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays at 8 o'clock. Although Sunday's show will now be Monday this week after the game because Ian Meth is busy, but it won't affect Tuesday's show. We'll still be doing Tuesday's show as well, right? So please, if you like the shows, you know, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment because it helps us grow. We're growing quite well. We're steady as she goes. I'm sure that when the season gets into full swing, we will grow exponentially. I think we will actually because we are.
Can I just ask a question, Adrian, before you finish? Ian's show on Monday, is that going to be post game?
Yes.
So he's going to be on like 10 o'clock.
Yeah, because it will be post match. It'll be later because he's Sunday. He's got family things to do.
Yeah.
The only thing that's going to upset the rhythm of our shows is like you lot involved with family issues, and which is understandable. And and that's it really. And
I was just going to say because
we might do some morning shows when we get Chang a bit more involved, which me and Ellie are trying to get him a bit more involved when he's not so busy because out in Malaya they sort of work 8 days a week, 25 hours a day, don't they? They do, like, you know, so he's very busy. Like, they don't stop working. I think they work in their sleep out there. Like, so, So anyway, thanks to everyone. Thank you to my guests. Thank you for Phil for being on earlier. I hope his sound improves next time around. Thanks to Soren again, as usual, Mod Soren. Thank you to Mod Mark. Thank you to admin Ellie. Right. And, you know, as usual, they had to put up with me. Right, trying to make some sense of what's happening at our club. It's been a thoroughly enjoyable show. I want to thank everyone again. Thank you all in the chat. Thank you for your comments and all that. Yep. And I will play you out with our fans in the 2-1 defeat of Liverpool at home last season.